Have you ever been on a long trip where you passed one of those little roadside attractions and wondered to yourself, who the hell would ever stop there? Well, this group of 6 friends are about to find out the hard way. But this place brings a whole new meaning to the term tourist trap. This isn't your average Texas Chainsaw Massacre either, not even close, because these psychos don't just want to kill you, they want to use you for one of their twisted art projects. And getting caught by them means suffering a fate that's even worse than death. We're here to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the wax killers in House of Wax. This small town is hiding a terrifying secret. It's late one night somewhere in Louisiana when Carly and her friends pull over at a diner to get something to eat. They're road tripping to a football game and with a lot of driving still to go, but while everyone else is still inside, Blake finds a shortcut on his GPS that looks like it could save him a lot of time. Getting back on the road, they follow Blake's shortcut off the highway until they come up on an unexpected detour. Thinking nothing of it, they decide to follow the road that leads deeper into the country, but that was their biggest mistake. After a few more miles of driving, they decide to pull over and camp out somewhere for the night. On the side of the road, they pass a sign for Trudy's world-famous House of Wax. Well, Wade, my boy, your dreams are about to come true, but they just might turn out to be your worst nightmare. While they're setting up their tents, they notice a rancid smell coming from somewhere nearby. Wade points out that it smells like something died out there, but they give it a quick look and then they decide to just go straight back to partying. It's almost time for everybody to call it a night when an old pickup truck suddenly pulls down the road with its high beams shining right at them. The truck stops just on the edge of the tree line, but strangely, nobody gets out or even responds when they ask what he wants. They're pretty sure that they aren't on anybody's private property, but whoever it is refuses to leave them alone, and eventually, Carly's delinquent twin brother Nick decides that he's had enough. Getting up from the background, he whips a perfect shot with a bottle and takes out one of their headlights. This seems to scare them off for now, so everyone turns in to get some sleep. But the truth is that this guy is about to make their lives a living hell. While they're sleeping, somebody grabs Dalton's camera and starts to walk around the campsite, but as they zoom in through the windows, everyone is still in their tents, meaning that it must be someone else. Just then, Carly wakes up with an unmistakable feeling that she's being watched. She tries to tell Wade, but he jokes that it's probably just a serial killer or something like that, having no idea how right he really is. Not convinced, she decides that the best thing to do is go and have a look around for herself. But the only person who she finds out there is Wade when he comes to check on her, and they head back to the tent thinking that it was all just in their imagination. Okay, Carly and her friends here need to be careful. They might think that they're able to handle this themselves, but this situation could get dangerous fast. And it's really going to suck if this shortcut that they took to save them an hour of driving ends up costing them their lives. Based on their encounter with that trucker, I think it's safe to say that they picked the wrong place to set up camp. The guy might not have technically done anything to them yet, but if he'd been there for a friendly visit, then he probably would have just said so. Blasting them with the high beams and refusing to respond to any of their questions was clearly meant to send a message, meaning that the driver was probably trying to intimidate them or assert his authority.
I am a cop and you will respect my authority.
Yeah, right.
The simplest one is that he's just a local landowner who was checking up on his property and probably trying to scare the group out because they were trespassing. But like Blake pointed out, they didn't pass any signs. And why wouldn't he have said something to them if that was the case? He might have just been curious to see who was camping out there, but I think the most likely answer is that he was looking for some kind of trouble. The slow approach could have been a test to see how many of them there were and how they would react. If it had been just one couple, who knows what might have happened, but when he saw that there were 6 of them, he decided to back off for now. The guy just leaving after Nick smashed his headlight shows that he wasn't looking for a confrontation, but the fact that he just let that slide without coming after the group in a legal way for damaging his property is a sure sign that he was up to no good. They might think that they scared the guy off, but now that they've broken his headlight, he might come back for revenge, which probably explains why someone was creeping around the campsite while everyone else was asleep. Then we have Carly here, who hears a noise outside of the tent and goes out to look by herself, without a weapon or even so much as a flashlight. At that point, she was practically asking to be the first one killed, and that doesn't exactly give me high hopes for their odds of survival long term. Okay? Personally, I'd be worried about this guy coming back. You know, they could have someone keep watch all night, but the better thing to do here is just pack up and leave while they still can. They only have a few hours of driving left until they make it to the stadium. And I'd rather be sleeping in a hotel or even a parking lot than out here with the Leatherface family. Since they've already gotten into one confrontation with the locals and have only been there for a matter of hours, I'd say it's time to keep it moving. But by the time that they wake up in the morning, it's already going to be too late. Pause. Alright, before we dive further into the terrifying world of molten wax and mannequins, I wanted to take a quick second to talk about our sponsor for today's video, Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one website building platform that's perfect for anyone who wants to create a killer website online. Squarespace, if you don't know, is an all-in-one website building platform that's perfect for anyone who wants to create a killer online presence. Whether you're a seasoned YouTuber like myself or a small business owner with a unique roadside attraction, Squarespace gives you all the tools you need to build a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and even sell merch or stuff like online courses all in one place. Now, what makes Squarespace truly special is its ease of use. They've got this awesome new feature called Squarespace Blueprint, which basically uses AI to design a website specifically for you. You just answer a few questions about your goals and style, and bam! Squarespace Blueprint whips up a totally unique website that looks hella profesh. Plus, Squarespace comes with built-in SEO tools, so you will know your website will show up in search engines and get seen by all the right people. Speaking of horror movies, have you ever tried selling your own custom merch online? Talk about something that could truly melt your brain. But with Squarespace, it's super easy to sell t-shirts, mugs, hats, all that good stuff. You can even add a paywall to exclusive video content, which is a great way to generate some extra income. Last but not least, Squarespace is just visually stunning to use. They've got a whole suite of design tools that let you create a website that's as unique and eye-catching as you are. Alright, I've got to get back to Trudy's House of Wax, but hey, if you're interested in learning more about Squarespace, head on over to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to take the plunge, use my special code HOWTOBEAT to save 10% off your first website or domain purchase. Yeah! Shout out to Squarespace for being so good. Now, back to the video. The next day, Blake wakes up and realizes that they all overslept. To make matters even worse, Wade's car won't start, and when he pops the hood, he discovers that a brand new fan belt broke in the middle of the night for no apparent reason. Meanwhile, Carly and Paige notice that same disgusting smell coming from somewhere nearby, and now that it's daylight, they decide to go check it out on their own. A bit farther into the woods, Carly suddenly stumbles and falls down a hill into a massive pit full of rotting meat. Hearing her screams, the others all rush over to the pit, and that's when another truck comes driving up the road towards them. But Wade quickly notices that this one doesn't have a broken headlight. It's the local roadkill collector, and after realizing that this guy knows the area, Wade asks him where he can get a new part for his car. But the nearest gas station is in a small town located in Ambrose, that's 15 miles up the road. The guy offers to give them a ride, and since there's no way that they'd make it up to the game in time, Wade and Carly decide to go with him. While their friends go ahead, agreeing to meet up once again, they get the part. It isn't until a few miles into the drive that Wade notices their window won't open, and their new friend also happens to be carrying a big-ass knife. This strikes him as suspicious, so when the dude pulls up to what looks like a dead end and asks for Wade's help switching the truck into four-wheel drive, the two of them decide that they're canceling this ride early. The guy acts offended that they clearly don't trust him, but he lets them go without any trouble, and as they walk around the corner, they realize that he was actually telling them the truth all along. Sure enough, there's a small country town just up ahead, but when they get to the gas station, they can't find anyone working there. Looking around, it doesn't seem like there's anyone out at all, but they can hear some music coming from the church at the end of the street, so they decide to just ask someone in there. When they open the door, they suddenly realize that they've just walked right in on a funeral and immediately turn around to wait outside. What's even worse is that Bo here, the guy who was just paying his respects at the casket, happens to be the owner of the gas station. He tells the two of them to meet him at the station in half an hour, so while they're waiting, they decide to check out the world-famous House of Wax. Walking up the front steps, Wade quickly realizes that this isn't just a wax museum. The entire building itself is made completely out of wax, from top to bottom. The place is full of realistic human wax figures, but Wade quickly points out something strange. The displays in a wax museum are usually of famous people, but everyone here just looks like anyone else that you'd see on the street. Looking around, they notice that everything in here was all made by the same guy, somebody named Vincent. While her boyfriend's busy checking out the dining room scene, Carly wipes off some dust off a mirror in another room, when suddenly she notices someone with long black hair and an expressionless, mannequin-like face staring at her through the window. Wade decides to go have a look for himself, but there's nothing out there besides a basement door that's locked up tight. Goofing around, he taps on the window while Carly is in the kitchen, causing her to crash right into a wax figure with a half-melted face, and scarring her so badly that she runs straight out of the building. Meanwhile, the rest of their friends end up stuck in such bad traffic that they decide to just go back to the campsite. Handing them the keys, Blake sends Nick and Dalton to go pick up Wade and Carly, while he and Paige stay back for some alone time. But this is the last time that they're going to see each other alive. Okay, I don't know what the hell that thing was, but there definitely is something suspicious going on here. They need to watch out before they end up in danger, and the truth is that the trouble started before they even got to this creepy-ass town. At the campsite, Carly swore that she heard somebody creeping around in the middle of the night, and then in the morning they discovered that Wade's fan belt had mysteriously been cut. Sure, it could have been one of the guys messing with him, but then why would they sabotage the car that they're driving in? And why would Dalton's camera also have gone missing if he was in on the joke? When you put the pieces together, it's pretty obvious that someone from the outside of the group must have been responsible, and I wouldn't be willing to trust anyone until we got very, very far away. Instead of going into town with the roadkill guy, they could have tried a temporary fix with duct tape just to get them out of there, and then worried about getting help from a real mechanic once they were somewhere with a few more witnesses around. Now that they're already in town, things just got even weirder. First off, the sign out on the main street listed the population as over 200, so where the hell is everybody? Then, look at the license plate on the cars. This Jeep has a Texas plate, but the car across the street is from New Jersey, so you have to ask, what are people from so far around the country doing here in this tiny, inaccessible, off-the-map town? And again, where are they? We know that they sure didn't come here to see the world-famous House of Wax, since it looks like they haven't had a customer in 30 years. Then we have the wax figures themselves. It looks like the house was at its peak back in the 80s, and there's no way that the sculptures would have lasted for so long without any air conditioning or maintenance. The combination of the Louisiana heat and humidity, UV exposure, water damage, and pests would mean that the figures would be badly deformed or completely destroyed by now. This means that somebody must be taking care of them, and it's probably the creature that Carly saw staring at her through the window. At this point, I'd be ready to just get the hell out of town, and since their friends are already heading back, this just opened up a new option for them to escape safely. They should have them stop to pick up a fan belt on their way, and then Carly and Wade can just start walking back down the trails towards camp, where their friends can pick them up at some point later. As long as they keep a lookout for the roadkill guy or his buddies, then they should be fine. But now it's time for the villains to finally spring their trap. Carly and Wade head back to the gas station to wait for the owner, where they discover that the guy happens to be missing the only size belt that they need. They're about to leave some cash and just take a slightly bigger one when the owner shows up and tells them that he has what they're looking for at his house up the hill. Wade is suspicious, but Carly doesn't want to keep insulting the locals, so eventually they agree to follow him, with no idea that they're walking straight into a trap. On their way to his house, the man explains how the owners of the Wax Museum were a wealthy couple who came out there for a second chance after running into some trouble with the husband's medical practice. Trudy herself built the place until she eventually went insane from a brain cyst, and the doctor decided that he couldn't take it anymore, leaving their twin sons to fend for themselves. At the house, he offers to give them a ride back to camp, so Carly waits in his truck while Wade goes inside to use the bathroom. The house itself is like a maze full of strange old items, and while he's on his way back, he notices a room that looks like a private doctor's office that hasn't been used in years. After waiting for a while, Carly gets out to see what's taking so long, but that's when she realizes that one of Beau's headlights is busted out, and the reality hits her all at once that this is the guy who was watching them at the campsite. She starts laying on the horn as a way to warn her boyfriend, but inside, all of the lights suddenly cut out, leaving him trapped in complete darkness. Confused, Wade starts trying to find his way out, but he doesn't notice a trapdoor opening behind him, and the same bizarre figure who was watching Carly earlier uses a huge pair of scissors to slice his Achilles tendon. Brutally injured, he backs himself into a corner and starts swinging wildly at the air, until suddenly the attacker stabs him in the shoulder with a hunting knife, before knocking him unconscious when he falls to the ground. Outside, Carly tries to call her friends for some help, but manages to leave a voicemail explaining the situation, even though they're too busy getting it on to pick up the phone. When the mechanic comes out with no sign of Wade, she quickly hops back in the truck and locks the doors, refusing to open them until she sees her boyfriend. Furious, the man breaks through the window and tries to drag her out, but she's able to start the truck and hit the gas with her hand, sending them speeding down the driveway. The mechanic loses his grip, but the truck slides out and gets stuck on a ditch, leaving her stranded with no way to get it back on the road. Suddenly, the man appears in the headlights in front of her, but she climbs out through the back window and runs away back towards the town. Meanwhile, the other attacker drags Wade down into his workshop below the House of Wax. This is Beau's twin brother Vincent, the artist who makes the wax figures, and he's about to show Wade a few tricks of the trade, after injecting him with a sedative, stitching up his wounds, and carefully removing all the hair from his face. The man straps Wade into a terrifying contraption meant to keep him perfectly still. Turning on the furnace, he activates some shower heads that cover Wade's entire body in boiling hot wax, transforming him into one of the sculptures while he's still alive. That makes one victim down, with 5 more to go. In the town, Carly hears music coming from the church and decides to go there for some help. She runs inside screaming that someone's after her, but the people there don't even so much as react. And as she looks around, she suddenly realizes that every single person in the church is made out of wax. Stumbling backwards, she accidentally knocks off one of the figure's arms, revealing the real flesh and blood that's hidden underneath. Her screaming tells Beau exactly where she is, and hearing him coming up the outside steps, she quickly takes cover somewhere inside. Taking his time, Beau stalks through the pews searching for her, but just as he's about to leave, he suddenly finds her hiding underneath the priest's robes. Carly manages to get away for a moment, but he easily chases her down a block up the street, and no matter how much she screams, it looks like nobody is coming to save her. Okay, damn, this is seriously messed up, and I genuinely don't think that things could have possibly gone any worse for our couple here. On the bright side, at least Wade finally got that behind-the-scenes tour he was looking for, but I'm pretty sure ending up as a part of the exhibit wasn't the plan. Sorry, Wade and Carly, but you two just all the way up. Let's start with Wade first. I guess those jokes about being a serial killer at the campsite aren't so funny now, huh, buddy? How the hell do you go from Mr. Suspicious over everything to leaving your girlfriend outside while you snoop through the back rooms of this obvious murder house? Rule number 1 in these kind of situations is that you never split up unless you're using somebody as a meat shield, since it's always safer to have someone watching your back. I get the urge to peek around a little once you are inside, but being overly curious is a good way to get yourself killed. And why the hell would a mechanic have a secret backroom doctor's office in his house anyway? As soon as you saw the baby cows in jars, you should have hightailed it out of there before you ended up in some kind of twisted genetic experiment. You don't wait until all the lights go out and then you're locked inside to realize that you might be in danger. At least you grabbed a weapon, even if you grabbed the most useless one, but flailing around in the dark definitely was not the movie. The best thing that you could have done to give yourself a fighting chance was back into a corner, stay quiet, and try to get the jump on your attacker instead, but let's face it, you were probably already dead from the minute that you walked into that house. As for you, Carly, at least you handled yourself a little bit better in this situation, and you even might have escaped if you hadn't made a few critical mistakes. Calling your friends was a great idea, but after you got their voicemail and left a quick message, you should have also been ready to call 911 as soon as Wade wasn't showing up. It seems like you used up all 100% of your survival skills just on that part of the plan though. I mean, were you seriously just going to sit there and watch him break the window while the keys were already in the truck? Just start it and drive away, or run his ass over if you feel like you have enough of a reason. Even after that, you still managed to get away, but that was where you made your biggest mistake. You knew which way the road to camp was, and that your friends were coming to pick you up, so why not just run away? Not back into town. If you just kept going back towards the campsite, you would have ran right into Nick and Dalton, who were already on their way, and probably saved everyone's lives except for Wade by just ending the story right there. But no, your gut instinct was to run in the exact opposite direction of safety, and now it looks like you're about to pay the price. Better luck on the next road trip, I guess, because Wade and Carly, you guys f***ed up. Throwing her over his shoulder, Bo takes Carly back to the gas station, turning on the radio to drown out her screams as he restrains her to a chair down in the basement. As she's fighting back, she notices scars on the man's wrists, showing that the same restraints were once used on him. Just then, Dalton and Nick show up outside, and he holds a metal spike to Carly's throat, ordering her to stay quiet. With no sign of anyone at the shop, the boys decide to split up and search the town. But one of them is about to end up as Vincent's latest victim. Down in the basement, Bo uses superglue to force Carly's lips shut, leaving her unable to scream for help. Locking the door, he goes upstairs to confront the boys, where he runs into Nick waiting for him outside. Carly can hear their whole conversation through a storm drain, and after breaking off a piece of the chair, she reaches up and starts wiggling her finger through the hole, desperately trying to give her brother any signal that she's there. Unfortunately, Bo notices this first and slices the tip of her finger off with a wire cutter while Nick is not looking. It looks like Nick here is about to be next, but Carly painfully forces her mouth open just in time to warn him as Bo is about to finish him off. The two of them immediately break out into a brawl, but Nick easily kicks the guy's ass and rushes into the station, locking the front door and garage door shut as Bo battles him to get inside. Rushing downstairs, he breaks into the room where Carly is trapped and quickly sets her free, but they still need to find Wade and Dalton before somebody else finds them first. Up the street, Dalton gets to the wax museum and decides to take a look around inside. Rounding the corner, he finds Wade sitting there at the piano and starts to ask him what the hell is going on, only to realize that he's been completely transformed into one of the wax figures and is somehow still alive underneath. Freaking out, he starts trying to get the wax off of Wade's face, but ends up pulling off several layers of skin along with it. All of a sudden, Vincent lunges towards him with a knife, but ends up chopping off half of Wade's face, finally killing him from the shock. Dalton flees into the kitchen and starts tossing wax plates at his attacker, but they all explode harmlessly on impact. And Vincent quickly chases him down the basement stairs, where he slices Dalton's head clean off, using a scissor motion with two razor-sharp blades. That makes 2 victims down with 4 more to go. At the garage, Carly and Nick hear a truck start up and pull away outside. Thinking that Bo must be gone, they grab a weapon and decide to go looking for Wade and Dalton. Before leaving the shop, Nick tries to call the police, but the line is dead, and Carly mentions that her cell phone might still be up by Bo's house. Okay. Now we're finally getting somewhere. Nick and Carly might have saved each other's lives, but they aren't safe yet, and with 2 of their friends still lost somewhere in the town, their situation just became even more complicated. This is exactly why one of the most important rules for survival is never to split up, especially when your survival skills are as bad as Dalton's here. If they'd stuck together, Nick and Dalton could have watched each other's backs, but instead they ended up having to face off with the attackers on their own, which almost got both of them killed. Now Nick and Carly have no way to know if Wade and Dalton are even still alive, and they have to make the decision to either stay and help their friends or get the hell out of there while they still have the chance. It's a tough situation, but if they take a second to calm down and look at things from a rational perspective, then they'd realize that there's one plan open to them that seems much more viable and safe than any others. Since they drove here, Nick still has the keys to Blake's truck, which is parked just around the corner less than 2 minutes away. Getting to that truck could be their most useful tool for survival, so before trying to save Wade or Dalton, that's where I'd be going first. The mechanic shop is full of potential weapons like wrenches, screwdrivers, hammers, tire irons, even crowbars or utility knives. The first thing that they should do is arm themselves with a weapon or two that gives them a combination of power and reach so that they'll be ready in case they encounter these psychos again. Then quickly make their way back to Blake's truck around the corner. This particular model came with a built-in roadside assistance, meaning that even though Carly doesn't have her phone, they can still activate it from the truck itself and immediately call emergency services to their location. The truck also has four-wheel drive, allowing it to navigate that washed-out section of the road. The boys avoided doing that before since they didn't want to ruin Blake's sweet ride, but now that this has turned into a life-or-death situation, I'd say it's fair game. With emergency services on the way, they could then drive the truck back through town, staying safely inside of it while they use the headlights and horn to try and find their friends. Whatever they do, they need to resist the urge to actually go inside any of the buildings until backup arrives, because they'll be walking right into a potential ambush point where the killers have the upper hand. It's a simple enough plan to work, and the best part is that they already have everything that they need. But as usual, a few stupid mistakes are going to put them right back in the danger zone. Back at the campsite, Blake and Paige are still making out and listening to music when their speaker mysteriously cuts off. Annoyed, Blake goes to check it out, only to find that the speakers are perfectly fine. Somebody just turned off the power. Noticing that Paige's phone has a missed call, he picks it up and listens to Carly's voicemail, warning them about the town for the first time, but by then, it's already too late to stop what's about to happen next. While Paige is waiting for Blake to come back, somebody opens the door and creeps into the tent, but when she turns on the light, she realizes that it's actually Vincent looking up to claim his next victim. Fighting for her life, she manages to escape before he can kill her, but ends up tripping right next to her boyfriend, who's currently bleeding out from a knife to the neck. That makes 3 victims down with 3 more to go. Terrified, she takes off running into the woods and stumbles into an old abandoned factory a few moments later. As Vincent follows her in and turns on the lights, she realizes that she's hiding out in a room that's full of luggage from all of their previous visits. The cell phones collected in a box unfortunately don't work, but she's able to grab a sharp metal pole to use as a spear. From an elevated platform, she looks around the building trying to see where Vincent could be hiding, only for him to slice her heel open, as he starts stabbing up at her through the grates on the floor. Even though she's badly injured, she manages to escape and take cover in a broken down car, but she's not safe just yet. Paige quickly climbs into the back seat, where she watches as Vincent stalks her between the cars looking for her. Suddenly, he throws open the door across from her, and Paige thrusts at him with the metal spike. But she goes just a few inches wide and only grazes his face. Dropping her weapon, she painfully limps over and hides behind another vehicle. But when she peeks through the window to see where he's gone, Vincent chucks the spike like a javelin and impales her straight through the forehead, making 4 victims down with only 2 more to go. Okay, well, damn, who would have thought that Paris Hilton here would have turned out to be such a badass? So far, she's done more damage to these clowns than anyone else besides Nick, and almost even managed to take one of them out. That's pretty impressive, but unfortunately, her strategy fell apart at the bitter end. So let's take a closer look at what happened and try to see how she might have survived. The trouble here started before she ever left camp. Her boyfriend went outside to just check the music, but he was gone long enough for her to get dressed, turn the lights off, and curl into bed. And at no point did she ever think to ask, hey, what's taking so long? Whatever jujitsu moves she broke out to win the fight in the tent probably would have made Joe Rogan proud. And I'm sure he's seen this movie. But she managed to overpower Vincent even when he had the jump on her, and it seems like she can actually hold her own in a fair fight. But getting away is only one thing. Getting away twice makes things twice as difficult, and that's where it all started to fall apart for her here in the factory. Her plan didn't start out that bad. Trying the broken phones first and then grabbing a spear were actually great ideas. But there was something important that she missed. Back in the room with the phones, the keys for all the cars in the building were also hanging on the wall, which means that it could have been possible for her to grab the keys, sneak over, or fight her way to a car, and then drive it straight out of there. No. Her biggest mistake was going out into the open up there on that elevated platform. It might have seemed like a helpful vantage point, but remember, she's not looking to get this guy, she's looking to get away from him. The smarter thing would have been to keep hiding and then either surprise attack him if he started to get close or sneak back for the door while he's still searching for you inside. Standing out in the open took away her element of surprise, allowing Vincent to get the jump on her. And after he shanked her in the ankle, it was pretty much all over from there. Even then, she still made a heads-up play by taking cover in the car, but why the hell didn't she lock the damn doors when she saw him coming? Sure, it might make some noise, but he can always just follow the blood trail from her cut ankle straight to the hiding spot anyway. She even managed to get him with a clean shot to the face, but then inexplicably left her weapon behind, and that ended up being her ultimate downfall. Overall, Paige here put up a good fight, but now it's up to Nick and Carly to settle the score. Back in town, Nick spots a sporting goods store where it looks like they might be able to get their hands on a better weapon. Using a wrench to break open the glass, he climbs into the window display and grabs a crossbow off a mannequin. Suddenly, a shot rings out as Bo opens fire on them with a real double barrel from down the street, but they're able to dodge him and rush to take cover inside of a nearby movie theater. As they walk in, a scene from a movie starts to play on the big screen, and Bo follows them in just a few steps behind. Thinking quickly, the two of them decide to hide out among the wax figures in the seats, staying as quiet as they can while Bo walks through the aisles searching for them. The plan works for a while until Bo finally spots Carly hiding out in the crowd, but she ducks a shot that blows the head off of the mannequin sitting in the row behind her. At the same time, Nick swings around the corner and hits him with a crossbow shot to the arm. It's not a kill shot, but it's enough to wound him as they make their escape back into the lobby. When he gets to the door, Nick is already there waiting for him with another shot, and this time it seems like it did the trick. That makes one killer down, but they still need to find a way out of this town before it's too late. Thinking that their friends might still be alive, they decide to search Bo's house for any sign of Wade or Dalton. Circling around to the back door, Carly grabs a baseball bat as they make their way inside, splitting up to search the first floor, one room at a time. In a drawer, she discovers a news article revealing that the boys were originally conjoined twins, who were separated by their father, and Vincent was given a wax face to cover up his deformities from the surgery. Just then, the front door opens as Bo comes stumbling in, forcing them to hide. Although he's badly injured, it looks like he survived the shots, and he uses some tools from the kitchen to patch up his wounds while Carly watches from under the table. Meanwhile, Nick finds the secret passageway leading to a system of tunnels that's hidden under the house. Peering through the window, Carly sees a yellow truck pull up outside with Blake and Paige's bodies stashed in the back. It's Vincent, and he and his brother begin to argue about the fact that he ever left town. While they're both distracted, Nick grabs Carly and rushes over to the hidden passage under the floor. They make their way down into a system of tunnels that seems to lead below the town until they eventually find a larger breaker panel. Thinking that some lights would help, Nick starts flicking every switch hoping to turn them on. But what he's actually doing is turning the power off and on to all of the shops and random contraptions around town. Back on the surface, the brothers notice this from their window, and now they know exactly where to find them. Okay, I swear every time it seems like these two are about to get away, they make another dumb decision that puts them in even more danger than they were before. Right now, they're as close as they've ever been to getting out of here alive, but they just completely gave away their hiding spot. And now it looks like they're going to have to confront Bo and Vincent before they escape. Back above ground, they wasted a few huge opportunities that could have made getting out of this place a walk in the park. First off, the store that they broke into said guns and ammo, but they decided to go with a crossbow? What the f is this? Who do you think you are, Daryl Dixon? It's cool, but it couldn't have hurt to search the place for a better option, or at least get Carly a weapon too so that they can back each other up. What's even crazier is that after taking Bo down the first time, they decided to leave without any weapon. Even though they were out of ammo, I still would have taken the double barrel just in case. They might find some ammo for it later if they were going to check his house, and even if they didn't, they could still use it as a bluff or a pretty good club if they had to. Everyone knows that when you're in these types of situations, you have to confirm the kill. Like, no question about it. Confirm the kill. The crossbow shots were to Bo's arm and shoulder, meaning that neither one of them was a guaranteed kill shot. While they were checking his pockets, they should have also checked to see if he still had a heartbeat, hello, and then either restrained him or finished the job. Even though he came back, Carly had another chance to take him out back in the house. While he was distracted pulling the arrows out of his arm in the kitchen, that would have been the perfect time to catch him slipping with the baseball bat. Yeah, then they would have only had Vincent to deal with, and they could have ambushed him when he came back to the house unaware that they were inside. Duh! Their best chance for now is to grab some weapons from the dungeon here and keep going towards the House of Wax. Once there, they can use the wax figures as a distraction to get the jump on their attackers. Or, if the coast is still clear, just run straight for Blake's truck since they still have the keys and get the hell out of there. But Bo and Vincent still have a few more tricks left up their sleeves. Finally, Nick manages to get the lights on, and as soon as they follow the tunnels to the next area, they come out in the middle of Vince's wax dungeon. Looking around, they come to the horrifying realization that Dalton is still strapped to the machine at the center of the room, covered from head to toe in several layers of solid wax. Horrified, Nick starts fiddling with the machine trying to set his buddy free, but only ends up snapping Dalton's head right off. It's heartbreaking, but there's no time to mourn because right at that moment, Vincent comes chasing after them, dual-wielding his signature knives. Furious, Nick and Carly decide that they're done running and start putting a tag team beatdown on him that catches Vincent by surprise. But he doesn't go down without a fight, and they end up going back and forth without either side gaining the upper hand. Seeing an opportunity while Vincent is on the ground, they run to the other side of the room and dump out a huge vat of boiling wax, creating a small wall of fire that cuts Vincent off and gives them a chance to escape. Following the path, they eventually come to a flight of stairs that leads them back up into the House of Wax. That's when they realize that Bo is already standing between them and the exit. Nick charges the guy, and the two of them get into a fistfight, with Bo tossing him into one of the wax displays. Carly runs in to help, but he spins around and clocks her straight in the face with a brutal right-hand jab. While they're battling, the fire down in the tunnels grows so big that it starts to melt straight through the floor. Nick gets back in the fight, but now the entire building is going up in flames, and it's only a matter of time before the whole place melts into soup. Grabbing a piece of the bolt that's still sticking out of his chest, Nick forces Bo to the floor, but the man draws a knife and buries it into his leg. It's a painful wound, but just as Bo is getting to his feet, Carly rushes in and cranks him with the baseball bat, finally killing him once and for all. The battle isn't over yet though, because just then Vincent comes running in to join the fight. Seeing his brother dead on the floor, he lets out a muffled scream and then turns his attention back to Carly, who flees upstairs as the building itself continues slowly melting away. The girl takes cover in an upstairs bedroom, using a crib with a pair of wax twins to block the door, but Vincent slices them apart with the knife, pulling his way through as he steps into the room. Horrified, Carly backs away to the other side of the room, trying to reason with Vincent that he doesn't really want to hurt them. But her attempt to resolve things peacefully doesn't work, and her only choice is to run for the door with Vincent just inches behind her. At the last second, Nick comes charging in behind him, tackling Vincent onto the bed and pulling off his mask as they struggle over the knife. With no other option, Carly pulls the knife out of her own brother's leg and turns it on Vincent, burying it straight into the man's chest. Falling backwards, he crashes through the floor all the way down to the basement, where he lands on top of his brother's body, in the same way that they were originally born. Carly and Nick only have seconds to escape, but with no way to go up or down, they realize that their only option is to dig straight through the wall. Digging for their lives, they crawl out of the A just as the entire building slowly melts to the ground, climbing out to safety with only seconds to spare. In the morning, the cops show up to investigate the source of the fire. While they're driving away in the ambulance, thinking that the nightmare is finally over, the sheriff gets word that Trudy didn't just have 2 sons. She had 3. And sure enough, there's the roadkill collector waving to them as they leave town. They managed to survive, but in the end, everyone learned a valuable lesson. Never trust a guy who eats roadkill. Horror junkies unite. Had to watch House of Wax. Solid movie. I with it the long way. How would you guys have escaped though? What would you have done differently? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and check out that How to Beat playlist for more videos just like this one. I'm the guy. I'll see you in the next video, and have a damn good day.